opposite to that example that we had, which was easy integration, I have this other example though of another platform that I recently worked with. And I'm only bringing up as maybe a topic that should be taken in consideration. Because like I said, there's a lot of platforms out there promoting live streaming integration with ease. And it's quite popular for platforms to have lots of good features. Going back to your checklist, you need to know possibly even this streaming integration, what is the mechanics of it? How is it going to work? Because it could be painful at times. We had this experience where even after several tests, and it wasn't our experience, but it was my experience with a different platform, we were running several tests and we had many rehearsals done. The difference was in the streaming integration between the platform that we use, Emee, easy, an RTMP code and a stream key, and we were there. There was nothing else to add. However, this other platform that I got to work with, they couldn't necessarily receive the RTMP code. They needed an iframe embed code. And if you're using a live streaming studio like Vimeo or StreamYard, you can't just stream straight into the platform with an iframe. You will first then need some sort of a CDN, a content delivery network like YouTube or Vimeo. And from there, you will be grabbing the iframe embed code to create your live stream in the platform. Now, the moment you start adding all those extra integrations to the chain, it does sound straightforward enough, but really until you start running into latency issues and dealing now with 3 different service providers, the chances of running into issues now are threefold as well. So some of the biggest frustrations, I hear this all the time, is with virtual conferences, and it comes back to this lack of effortless integration sometimes between the streaming production platforms and the receiving end, in this example, the event platform. And for an event planner to have to try to understand the mechanics of all this technology, it takes quite the effort. And that has been one of the recurring themes that I've heard from so many different event professionals that pivoted from in-person conferences to, virtual summits and virtual conferences. And honestly, I don't blame them. I definitely felt the frustration myself when I had to deal with this. Everything should be working and it's not, and it's frustrating, right? So because you've been around the block for a while, Emee, and you've been at the forefront of all the changes that have happened the last year, like you said, you like to stay on top with what's happening and what's the newest gizmo out there. How really have you been able to get into that state of mind to keep up with all these changes and not feel overwhelmed, especially as technology changes so fast these days? All the technology changes that have occurred really in the past year alone with the virtual events.
Yeah, wow, that's a big one. And I think there's a couple of different pieces to that answer of like how to stay on top of technology and how not to get overwhelmed. And I think as a basic, you have to take care of your wellness and your mental health. And then on that next level, like to stay on top of technology, it's just like staying on top of any other information that you have to stay up on top of as an event planner. Is my meeting safe? It's not just virtual technology. There's so much other information. And I think, again, you going back to, you have to lean on your associations. You have to lean on your friendors, your vendor friends. You can't do everything yourself. While you were talking about the StreamYard integration, I kind of got, the top level of what you were saying. And I was like, as you were talking, I was like, I don't know what all that means, but I do know that once you stack a lot of these things on top of each other, you're going to get lag. Yeah. And then by the end of your sentence, you said latency. And I was like,
yes,
oh, right.
I understand this.
So it's like, you don't have to be an expert on every last thing, but make sure you're armed with the resources and the team and the people. If you're an independent, if you're a sole proprietor, that can be your vendor friend. That's where your networking comes in. That's where your associations come in. If you're on social media all the time, and we're all guilty of going through Instagram or going through, whatever, Twitter, don't just look at people's profiles, reach out to them, maybe set a networking goal once a week. You see somebody who's really awesome, doing great work, and I see people like that all the time, send them a quick message or comment on their feed, build up your hype crew.
Yes. So, and I love what you said before we started. If you see somebody that's quietly being awesome, I love that.